it's been a while since I filmed a writing vlog, so I guess it's time to give a little update on how my writing is doing. So my last writing vlog was the last week of Camp NaNoWriMo, and since then I've been working on 2 projects. The first project I've been working on is a low fantasy short story. I wrote the first draft during NaNoWriMo last November, and I wrote the second draft during Camp Nano this April. Now this month I read the short story again and I did some minor tweaks to it, but otherwise the text was ready to be sent to an editor. I also wrote the blurb, which is always difficult, but I had 3 people beta read it for me and their comments were really helpful and helped me to refine the text, so the blurb is also ready. And then I sent both the short story and the blurb to an editor. My editor did both line edit and copy edit at the same time, and she had a really nice method which I don't think I've heard any other editor using, which is that she did it in 2 phases. She first did a first pass of the text and then she sent it to me for comments before she did a second pass of the text. I thought this was a really nice process because it led me to read her comments and react to them and explain some of my choices and also ask her some questions about the edits. The whole process was really smooth and I enjoyed working with her. So if you're looking for an editor, I'll link her down in the description. I can highly recommend her services. So now the short story is ready for publication. I'm going to self-publish it and I'm planning for August release date. So what I need to do next with it is I need to get an ISBN number, I need to finish the cover design. I've already started that, so I have a good idea what the cover will look like, and I need to format the ebook, and I also need to start thinking about marketing and getting ARC readers. So if you're interested in ARC reading a heart-wrenching low fantasy short story about grief and loss, be sure to follow me on Instagram. I'll be announcing there when I'm looking for ARC readers. So the short story is progressing nicely, and the other project that I've been working on in May is Project Prehistory, which is my current work in progress. Like the working title suggests, it's set in a prehistoric society. It's a coming-of-age story. The last time I talked about it, I think I was starting chapter 8. I'm currently working on chapter 13, and that's what I'll be doing today. So let me pull up the document and I'll let you know later what I've been doing. It's going pretty well. I finished one scene that I started earlier this week and now I'm working on scene 2. But it's around noon, so I think it's time for lunch. And I also need to water my plants. If you remember my chain of arts a couple of vlogs back, this is how it's doing right now. Not very well. My plants are equally likely to die as they are to survive. The spider plants are doing fine on the other hand. This is my newest addition. It's a parlor palm. I got it from IKEA for €2. The jade plant is doing fine, as is the ivy. So let's talk about Project Prehistory. I checked my notes and it turned out that I had actually finished chapter 8 during Camp NaNoWriMo. And in May I've worked on chapters 9 through 13. Chapter 9 had quite a lot of description. I think that my dialogue is mostly fine, but description has always been something that I struggle with. So since chapter 9 had so much description, there was a lot of things that needed to be rewritten and edited and deleted and added so that I could make the text better. Chapter 10, on the other hand, is very dialogue heavy, so it was relatively easy to edit. There's one scene where a character tells a story and that story had quite a lot of repetition, but that was the only part that needed major rewrites. Chapter 11 had quite a lot of description, but the beginning of that chapter was surprisingly easy to edit. It was only the last scene that needed to be completely restructured. The scene had all the information that it needed, but it was in the wrong order, so I needed to restructure the scene for it to make sense. That took quite some time. There was one day when I worked on the manuscript for an hour and a half and I didn't edit a single word. I just kept reading the scene over and over again and trying to figure out how to restructure the scene. And then there was chapter 12, which has always been the easiest. It has been the easiest to write and it has always been the easiest to edit, and that was the case also this time. It's quite dialogue heavy and there's some fun banter, and I just really love that chapter. So I only needed to condense some of the things, delete unnecessary things, and do some minor line edits to that chapter. And now I'm on chapter 13. In chapter 13, I've changed the order of the first two scenes. So what used to be scene 1 is now scene 2, and what used to be scene 2 is now the first scene. The reason for that is that I used to have quite a lot of repeated scene structures and chapters beginning with a similar scene. I've talked about this process in a previous vlog and my reasons for changing the order of the scenes, but I think that it now works better. So I started working on chapter 13 earlier this week. I finished scene 1 today and I'm currently working on scene 2. I'm about to finish it, and I think today I'll be able to continue on to scene 3. There's 4 scenes in the chapter currently. There used to be 5, but I deleted the last scene, and some of the stuff that used to be in the final scene needs to go back into the text in the scene 4, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. So I think that I can finish chapter 13 this week. But let's continue with scene 2 and see how I can make it better. Well, I had a productive day. I finished scene 1. There was only around 200 words left. I edited the entire second scene, which was around 700 words, so not a very long scene. And I started editing scene 3. I edited about 400 words, which is around half of the scene. I'll continue with it this evening. I might not finish scene 3 today, but I know I will finish chapter 13 this week. It's a few days later. I finished editing scene 3 in the evening 2 days ago. Yesterday I decided to take the day off from editing, but I did film a few clips of what I was doing instead. I had a content creation day. I took photos for my blog and Instagram. These are my June hopefuls, and here are the books I read in May. My photos have a pretty simple style: black paperback, some fake flowers, and a book. And then I decided to celebrate editing 1/3 of my novel with the marbled blueberry cheesecake. This cake is so easy to make. The crust is just cookie crumbs and butter, and for the cheesecake you simply mix all the ingredients together. And then you top it with blueberry puree and use a knife to make the marbled effect. Super simple and super delicious. I did start editing the 4th and final scene of chapter 13 yesterday evening. Today I continued with it and finished it. I honestly can't believe how easy it was. I started draft 4 in mid-March. That means that I've edited 1/3 of the novel in 2.5 months. Now if I keep going at the same rate, I'll finish the final 2/3 in 5 months, and then I would be done by the end of October. Now if that were the case, I could write something else during NaNoWriMo. I already know what I would want to write, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. I know that I won't be able to edit as much during June because I need to work to actually earn money. I would also like to have at least 1 week of summer vacation where I don't look at the manuscript at all, and I might not be able to dedicate as much time for edits during the latter half of the year. But at least I'm making a great progress and can celebrate that I'm 33% done with the edits. Anyway, if you enjoyed this writing log, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll keep you posted on the short story publication process and how Project Prehistory edits are going in my next writing log.